And I'm like, what do you mean you ain't been feeling right? And what is you trying to say? What are you trying to say to me right now, sir? What's up, y'all? Welcome to my YouTube channel yet again. It's your girl. I just need to adjust some things. So coming to you with another kind of edutainment episode, because today I want to talk about STDs. So I used to work for a clinic that did STD testing primarily, and at the pharmacy we were mainly like an STD clinic. So we did a lot of testing, like I said, but we also did a lot of treating of STDs. So let's start this off with a story time. And I got wine. Child, it was a long day and I'm trying to sleep good, okay? I got on my stay positive, test negative shirt. Very appropriate for the topic, boop, and very appropriate for the times that we are in, meaning the whole panorama. So. I was dating a guy. Later, spoiler alert, he turned out to be my husband. So we were dating, okay? And this is year one. It's definitely year one. You know, we're in the honeymoon stage, madly in love. Everything about you is so perfect. Everything about me is so perfect. We're talking to each other on the phone.
You hang up.
No, you hang up.
No, you hang up.
You know, we had a long distance relationship. And at the time, I worked for a company. I was a pharmacy technician at the time. And I remember him being very distant. Like, we used to talk all the time when I went to work, when I got off of work, on my lunch breaks, on my 15-minute breaks. Like, me and him was always in constant communication. The communication fell off, and the communication was off for days. So I'm like, maybe he's just going through something. You know, we're going to let him process and we're gonna be back cool. It's gonna be fine. Things were not fine, honey. Things were not fine. Like, my relationship, I thought was in danger. I'm like,
what am I doing wrong? Like, we vibing, we getting along. What's going on?
I remember the gist of the story. So I was about to go into work because it was daytime. I normally worked like the later part of the shift because I had class and stuff. We were talking on the phone and his energy was just off. And he was like,
okay, I gotta tell you something.
I'm like, I hate when people say, I gotta tell you something. Like, just come out and say it. Don't preface, don't brace me, just come out and say it. I hate, we need to talk. I hate all of that. He was like,
listen, I've been talking to you for the last couple of days because something's been going on. Like, I have not been feeling right down there.
And I'm like, what do you mean you ain't been feeling right? And what is you trying to say? What are you trying to say to me right now, sir? So he's like,
yeah, like, so I thought X, Y, and Z, so I went to get tested.
and mind you, we both gotten tested before, but we were in a committed, serious relationship. So I'm like, why do you feel the need to, I mean, mind you, I was young at the time, but my thought process was, why do you feel the need to get tested right now? Like, we're definitely exclusive. It's definitely just the two of us. But, I mean, hindsight, y'all, I don't care if you're in a committed relationship, if you're friends with benefits, whatever you are, please get tested quarterly. Get tested, get your routine visits, especially if you are having sex unprotected. Okay? So, but at the time, you know, I'm young. I was like, I don't know, 19, 20 at the time. Like, we're in a committed relationship. Why would you need to get tested? Because I'm having symptoms, chick. You know, something didn't feel right. Like, when he used the bathroom, it didn't feel right. He kept having the urge to urinate. And when he did, it was like a little bit at a time. He was just having these weird symptoms. and he went to get tested, and he tested positive for a UTI. So he's telling me this story about what he thought, how he was scared. But then what really pissed me off is, okay, we talk all the time. You couldn't have came to me with that information. You couldn't have led with, hey, I think you gave me something. I mean, he was trying to check it out before coming to me. But I felt as though, why wouldn't you approach me with that? You know what I'm saying? But I guess he was trying to make sure that he wasn't falsely accusing me of something. But all the while, you acting funny, like you was about to get cut off. Cut off, okay? But in all reality, he was scared, and I was annoyed. And so he's laughing it off now, like, yeah, haha, I really thought you gave me something. And I'm just like, the fact that you think I'm that type of person, it hurts. But being in his shoes, I also had to understand, okay, if your body's doing something different that it has never done before, you know, and it's not very common for men to get UTIs. Now that I told y'all my story, now let's get into appropriate care for your health, for your sexual health. So I alluded to this earlier, 100%, I don't care if you are in a committed relationship, what have you, unless you are married. And even in some circumstances, marriage is not just the two of y'all. In some people's marriages, that's not how things are. So you need to be getting tested on a routine basis. Maybe if you are in a long-term committed relationship, you can say, hey, I'm just gonna do once a year. But definitely if you are having, you know, a few different sexual partners throughout the year, or, you know, you just find yourself in riskier situations, get tested more frequently. Please get tested more frequently. If you're worried about the cost, look out for your local Planned Parenthood, look out for your local health department at your routine visits with your regular primary healthcare provider. That's your regular doctor who you're supposed to see on an annual basis anyway. Please ask that they check. 9 times out of 10 though, they're really good about asking, okay, do you want to check for STDs today, or STIs? STD, sexually transmitted disease. STI, sexually transmitted illness. Sexually transmitted infection. Lord, just know that it's important to get tested. I don't care what he say, what she say. We don't take people's word for it. We get tested. My boyfriend at the time, he did the right thing. He went to go get tested. And that's exactly what you all should be doing. 100%. I don't care how old you are. If you think you got this on lock, you just never know. Now there are options for those who cannot get tested. So let's say me. Let's say I tested positive for an STD, but my partner doesn't have access, or maybe he's at work, he doesn't have the opportunity, or she doesn't have work, the opportunity to get tested. There is something called expedited partner therapy. If you haven't heard of it, now you know. That person who got tested, who got the positive result, can pick up their prescription, but also get a prescription for their partner. So essentially the prescription is going to be under the person who tested positive, their name. After it's going to say EPT, standing for expedited partner therapy. And what that allows the provider to do is to write a prescription for a patient they haven't seen, but under the assumptions that that partner who had sex with the person who tested positive probably also has that infection and needs to be treated ASAP. So if the partner can't be seen, there are special circumstances in which the provider can still write for a prescription. Normally, providers can't do that. If you need a prescription, you need medication, you need to be a patient of that doctor's, you need to be seen and have like legit diagnoses. I think since the pandemic, some people have been being more cautious and aware about who they surround themselves with anyway. Just outside of sexually transmitted infections, there's just regular infections. cough, cold, COVID, you know, flu. I think people are more cautious as a whole, but this is just your reminder. If you haven't been checked in a while, you know, maybe just see what's tea, sis, see what's going on, see what's up, see what's down. It can never hurt. So there's that. Number 2, when you do go to get tested, please know that herpes is not something that they automatically test for. It is an extra cost, but I do recommend that you get checked for that at least once a year, at least. And I'm saying this because 1, it's not something that they routinely ask about, and 2, a lot of people have shame around that because it is a lifelong thing, but they can have sexual relations and not pass it on. It's definitely possible. And there's a huge stigma, so some people don't feel either the need to tell their partners if they're not having an active outbreak, or sometimes they just don't feel comfortable telling their partners. But as long as you are paying attention to the symptoms of when you're having an outbreak versus when you're shedding versus when you're healed, there shouldn't be an issue, especially if you're using protection. In addition to, please don't fall for the okie doke. I'm not sure if there has been sexual education class anymore, but women, if you have an STD and the man's not having symptoms, the man needs to still come in to be seen, to be tested, because treatment might be involved. Many of these diseases could be latent, meaning they just rest in the body. You're not having an overt amount of symptoms that are ringing bells telling you, hello, something's wrong. Sometimes it can take a while for the infection to replicate in your body and start actually causing issues for you. So if your partner says, hey, I have tested positive for X, Y, and Z, you need to get checked for that. So we talked about testing, when to get tested, what tests to ask for specifically. No, I'm just kidding. I know it's specifically. But let's also talk about the treatments a little bit. As stated before, if you have herpes, it is an infection that stays in the body long term, but you only need treatment for that if you are having an active outbreak. So there's 2 different antivirals. I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but just know that that is typically given only during an outbreak. If you're not having an outbreak, you don't need to worry about it. But there are instances, if you are having frequent outbreaks, that they will put you on what's called prophylactic therapy. And essentially what that is an antiviral that you take every day to even prevent you from getting an outbreak. Some of these medications have side effects and they could be bothersome, so that's why everybody off rip is not prescribed an everyday prophylactic or preventative antiviral. Chlamydia and gonorrhea. Those 2 are commonly transmitted at the same time. And a lot of times, like I said before, how one partner could have symptoms but the other partner couldn't, sometimes those diseases aren't caught up until later. Usually, if you test positive for one, you're automatically going to get the treatment for both. One is typically a shot and the other one is typically pills. So you could take 2 pills together. You'll see that quite often. And that just knocks it out. But mind you, you need to get that treatment and take it ASAP. ASAP, ASAP. And the reason I'm saying that is because the longer that you have an infection in your body, the longer you have inflammation in your body, and the longer that you could have long-term effects from that. So although you might not have symptoms of an STD, but if you or your partner tested positive, you have that infection in your body and it can cause damage. It can cause issues with reproduction if left untreated. It can cause issues with having a successful live birth if you are pregnant at the time. It's just a lot of things that could go wrong, and why would you subject yourself to that? If you test positive for HIV or AIDS, they have awesome treatments now. Back in the day, the antivirals that they had were not well tolerated. So now they have treatments. In some cases, you might have to be on 1 to 3 different pills depending on what your viral load looks like. So just know that therapy is typically daily. You will need to be on medications for the rest of your life, but you can live a happy, full, lengthy, quality-filled life. Trichomoniasis. So trichomoniasis is tricky. Trichomoniasis is a STD that can be passed through male partners, but only the female partners show symptoms. And that's when you smell really bad odors. That's when discharge turns green. Oftentimes, the males won't have any symptoms, but they still need to be treated because they are carrying the disease. So these women could be reinfected if they are still having relations with the same man, because he's like, I don't have anything, and just keeps reinfecting the women. So if he doesn't get his treatment, sis, you gonna keep getting trichomoniasis. And trich is very uncomfortable for a woman or for somebody who has a vagina. And when I say sis, I'm really talking about everybody. This is not gender specific. Those are the main STDs that I'm used to seeing. These days, I feel as though media does a good job just kind of normalizing the fact that we're humans, we're sexual beings, and sometimes there are risks associated with that, but we shouldn't feel ashamed. We should embrace it, but also take the necessary steps just to make sure that we're being safe and healthy. And that's all I really want for you guys, is for you to be safe and healthy. I have been working in pharmacy for a while, and I had worked in that STD clinic. So from the STD clinic, it just opened my eyes to, one, how much people didn't know. Please know that regardless of your symptoms get better, if you feel fine, you need to not only take that therapy, but take it until it is finished. I'm saying that because antibiotic resistance, meaning the bacteria or virus in your body can encounter the antibiotic that you took meant to kill them and mutate into a super antibiotic, a super virus, and be able to still live in your body and not be killed by the antibiotic. So to lessen those chances, you have to take the full course, because if bacteria comes in contact with something that's meant to kill them, but only for a little bit of time, it's gonna say,
oh, I could fight this, and I'm gonna change real quick in this person's body.
And bam, the next antibiotic is gonna be harder to kill me because I now have more ammunition and weapons against it. You see what I'm saying? To avoid that, you're going to hit the virus, hit the bacteria with all you have. You're going to complete that therapy no matter how you feel. If it's for a week, take it for a week. If it's for 3 days, take it for the full 3 days. If you miss a dose, ask your pharmacist how to best go about taking that missed dose, but ultimately you're going to want to take it. How it's going to be taken is up to your healthcare provider. And that's not just for STDs or STIs. That is for any antibiotic given to you. I just felt the need to put this out there because too many times I hear stories about women who were told to believe that they got the STD from using a public toilet seat. I'm telling you, people telling their partners who have vaginas that that's how you got the STD. It wasn't me. It was because you sat on a dirty toilet. What? No, don't listen to that. I have had just so many encounters with young ladies and young men about how they didn't know or how they didn't think it was important. I had to stress to this one young lady at the clinic. She was like,
yeah, I'll come and pick it up like in 2 days.
And so we're face to face. Mind you, I'm filling the prescription. It's only gonna take me 5 minutes max. I'm like, you sure you don't want to wait? She was like,
yeah, I gotta do X, Y, and Z.
And so I looked her dead in her eye, because sometimes you really just need somebody to keep it real, keep it a buck with you. I looked her in her eyes and I said,
Okay, but just know that without this antibiotic, the infection will not go away.
And guess what she did? She chose to wait. She found the time. She found the time. So I don't care how you feel about it. You should not be playing around with your health. This is to encourage you to be the boss of your own life. But y'all, thanks again for tuning into my healthcare series. This one was like a cozier kind of episode. You know, I got the candle, maple glazed donut in the background. I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. I got my wine. Just having a chat with your pharmacist friend. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions about what we've talked about today, please post them down below. So just catch you guys in the next one. Bye.